There are foods out there that you can pretty much eat unlimited amounts of. Maybe not unlimited, but they're relatively calorie free. We want vegetables that we can just kind of snack on and not have to worry about them accumulating in carb content. But I don't just worry about that. I actually want some net positive benefit. So all the foods that I'm going to list off today also have nutritional value. They're not just straight up low calorie vegetables that are doing nothing for you. So let's break them on down. First one, artichokes. Load up on artichokes, bake them, boil them, whatever you want to do. Eat the leaves, eat the heart, whatever. Okay, artichokes are so unique because they are high in what is called very long chain inulin, a very specific kind of inulin that is highly fermentable. What does that mean? It doesn't mean it's going to bloat you and give you gas. It means that it's going to help out with gut diversity. All right. So not only do we have something that's delicious that isn't going to really kick you out of keto no matter how much you have unless you really went to town, but we also have something that has a microbial benefit to us. Now there's a study that was published in the journal Metabolism that took a look at inulin, and they labeled it with what's called a carbon isotope. So they were able to watch this inulin as it traveled, and they found that as the inulin traveled, it spread rapidly throughout the gut. This is a good thing because it indicates that, lots of different species of bacteria are able to feed on it, and it's fermenting quickly, and it's allowing for, rapid growth. So this is exactly what we want when it comes down to, anytime really, but especially on a ketogenic diet, because we can produce more in the way of short chain fatty acids, which can actually help us out with the ketogenic diet, but also help us out with processing glucose. So we have a lot of benefits that come from artichoke, not to mention they're just awesome to eat in the first place. But then within that same kind of category, asparagus, like you could eat essentially unlimited amounts of asparagus. Now I say that with a grain of salt. Don't literally go out and eat 200 stalks of asparagus, but you're gonna have a hard time kicking yourself out of keto if you eat a bunch of asparagus, okay? The reality is they're super high in inulin as well. And that prompts another study that was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. This one's really cool because they gave subjects inulin, like is in asparagus, 15 grams of it once a day for 2 weeks. Okay, at the end of 2 weeks, they found that they had a very large increase in what's called bifidobacterium. Now, the interesting thing is bifidobacterium, when you look at the gut biome, isn't like that miraculous. It doesn't produce butyrate, it doesn't produce short chain fatty acids, which is what we're after. But indirectly, it cross-feeds. So what cross-feeding is let's say you have one species of bacteria in your gut, and when it eats fiber, it creates a metabolite. Well, that metabolite then gets eaten by bifidobacterium and then produces short chain fatty acids. So it's called cross-feeding, where bifidobacteria itself isn't producing butyrate or short chain fatty acid, but when it cross-feeds with a metabolite, it creates it. So the long story short is that bifidobacterium can be a stronger catalyst to create more than a butyrate producer itself. What does that mean? What does this gobbledygook mean? It means asparagus is really, 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 really good for you. So you should probably be eating it. Then we move into another one which isn't talked about a lot on keto because it has a little bit of a sweet taste, so people don't really think about it. That's jicama. Now, jicama is the one somewhat caveat within this category. There are a couple grams of carbs in jicama. So if you were to eat like 500 grams of jicama, you might start kicking yourself out of keto a little bit. But again, there's some stuff in jicama that might counteract that effect. You see, jicama, once again, very high in inulin. Kind of seeing a theme here. It's like foods that have high amounts of natural inulin might just be foods you can eat a lot of. But there's a study that was published in the journal Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition. Now, this was a mice study, but they gave jicama extract to these mice for 6 weeks. And they found their fasting glucose decreased and their HbA1c over the course of this period of time went down, meaning they were handling glucose better. Well, what exactly was happening here? So what they found is that it can increase AMPK phosphorylation. And what that really means is that it helps your body sort of flip the metabolic switch to know when to tap into stored body fat or to know when to activate sort of these other AMPK pathways. So very, very good for a ketogenic diet, very, very good for any kind of metabolic health. But what's wild is they also noticed there was an increase in GLUT4 expression. And what that means is it was bringing the transporter for glucose up to the surface. It's called GLUT4. So this could have been the reason why HbA1c went down so much. Okay, because if it increased the expression of GLUT4 transporters, it means that by this jicama extract made it so that the glucose that was in the bloodstream was getting grabbed out of the bloodstream and taken up into the muscle cell easier. leaving less glucose to kick you out of keto, less glucose for hyperglycemia, and more glucose going into the right spot where it's not negatively affecting you. Okay, not to mention Jicama has the inulin again. So we get that huge benefit of the slow digestion and the cross-feeding and all that benefit that comes directly with our gut microbiome. After today's video, I put a link down below for 25% off Seeds Daily Synbiotic. They're a sponsor on this channel. They have been for years, which means that they make this content literally possible. Okay, now that is a 25% off discount link for their Synbiotic. So it's a prebiotic and a probiotic in one capsule, which means that you're getting potentially better delivery of that capsule, of the actual compounds inside it, because you're not getting it destroyed by the hostile gut biome or the hydrochloric acid in your gut. Now, additionally to that, they have a lot of clinical evidence behind their product. I am not a big fan of probiotics. I usually tell people consume yogurt, get kefir, things like that, probiotic-rich foods, fermented foods. But there is a time and a place to add probiotics in, especially if you're making a change to your diet, especially if you're trying to potentially utilize more nutrients and get the benefits there. So that link down below gets you 25% off Seeds Daily Synbiotic. Next up is Shirataki noodles. So Shirataki noodles are 97% water and 3% glucomannan fiber. And you might be thinking, well, that's not a vegetable. It is a vegetable. It's called the konjac root. So it's still like a root. And is it an unlimited food? It is an unlimited food, but let me tell you this. If you ate 2 cups of Shirataki noodles, you would not be having a good time. It would cause some digestive discomfort for sure. The interesting thing is, because it is such a powerful fiber, glucomannan fiber just absorbs a ton of water. So it has a heavy, heavy satiating effect. In fact, there was a study that was published in the journal Alternative Therapies in Health and Medicine. This is fascinating. Okay, they found that just 2 to 4 grams per day of glucomannan fiber that's in Shirataki noodles, those are those clear little whitish colored noodles, well, just that small amount of 2 to 4 grams result in what is called fecal energy loss, meaning you are losing calories coming out through your poop. That sounds crazy, right? But it's because the fiber is so powerful that it's actually holding on to other foods and making it so they don't absorb as much, so you pass them along. So Shirataki noodles aren't just a net zero food. They are like a net loss food. You consume them and you potentially go negative. It's pretty fascinating. But again, you can't eat those all day, every day, because you'll probably get pretty bloated. The next one is nutritional yeast, which is kind of a vegetable, kind of not. I mean, it's still, I guess in some ways, grown that way. But I wanted to add it into the mix because it's a little bit fun to put on vegetables. Nutritional yeast on your asparagus is delicious. Nutritional yeast on your artichokes are delicious. Okay, all you have to do is mix up with a little bit of water and it'll stick right to the vegetable and taste really good, along with a little bit of salt, and you have practically no calories. But the reason that I love them on a ketogenic protocol is because they're super rich in niacin, super rich in other B vitamins, but mainly B12, okay? So when you are on a ketogenic diet, your insulin levels are lower, and it's easier to excrete extra water, or not just extra water, water in general. And along with that comes your water-soluble vitamins, like your B vitamins. So when you have nutritional yeast, it's not uncommon for you to notice that your urine is like almost fluorescent looking. That's because you're getting in a copious amount of B vitamins, and your low insulin levels are going to excrete a lot of them. But the point is that by taking in nutritional yeast, you can elevate those B vitamins a little bit, but it tastes like cheese. The stuff is awesome. So on a keto diet, just load up on it, have it, enjoy it. The next one is hearts of palm. Now you can straight up eat from the can, whatever. Okay, there's also hearts of palm pastas, there's hearts of palm rices, all kinds of different products out there. Not only is it super sustainable, because whenever they're harvesting palms, it's a pretty wasteful process. So the fact that we're actually able to use the hearts of palm now, it's pretty cool. But there's a really interesting study that shows that it can help you out with your glucose processing. The Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry had published something a little while back. It showed that hearts of palm contain an amylase inhibitor, which means when you consume hearts of palm alongside carbohydrates, it actually can slow down or even stop the absorption of those carbohydrates, because amylase is an enzyme that breaks starches down into glucose. So if you have an amylase inhibitor, those starches never break down into glucose. They stay in starch-like form intact within your gut and get excreted out. So hearts of palm, there's only like 36 calories in 100 grams, which of course can add up. You have 1,000 grams, it's 360 calories, but that'd be a pretty monstrous bowl of hearts of palm. The reality is, however much you would probably eat in like an unlimited setting is probably not going to amount to much. And the last one that I feel like everyone should be adding in if they can tolerate them, for a couple of reasons, are going to be mushrooms. First of all, they're crunchy if they're cool. They're soft if they're cooked. Like, you get this wide variety of textures that you can get out of them. Or you can put them in an air fryer. If you've ever done that, you turn them into like a little chip, like a portobello chip, and it tastes delicious. And the carb content is very, very low, and the carbs that are in it are coming from something called beta-glucans. Now, beta-glucans are, again, we're going to talk about the microbiome again, very fascinating, because beta-glucans are basically a lot, like hundreds of glucose molecules bound together in a single form, in which we as humans lack the enzyme ability to break apart. So what happens? Well, our gut can break them apart. Our gut feeds on that beta-glucan, and it feeds the microbes, leading into short-chain fatty acid production. And I've talked about in a bunch of videos, we want more short-chain fatty acids in our gut, because that is a sign of gut diversity, and that can reflect in our glucose metabolism, it can reflect in our ability to oxidize fat as a fuel source, and it can reflect in our ability to create ketones from extra acetyl coenzyme A within the liver. So all of this can benefit our ketogenic lifestyle. So enjoy these foods, have fun with them, don't dip them in a bunch of mayonnaise, and definitely don't dip them in soybean oil. See you tomorrow.